Stardew Valley is a light farming sim video game with relationship mechanics, and if the nearly 400,000 reviews on Steam pointing towards overwhelmingly positive have anything to say about it, they definitely say that the game is pretty good. And from what I can gather, every single living thing on Earth that I have encountered has also told me that the game is pretty good. I've played Stardew Valley a few times on my own as well as cooperatively, and I gotta say, the reason that I am speaking in hushed tones right now is it's not because I'm trying to be conscientious of those that are sleeping at 1 a.m. It is because that I fear a Stardew Valley fan will hear what I'm about to say next and come and mercilessly beat me with a stick. I personally do not like Stardew Valley very much. I have enjoyed light farming sim games in the past, like the original Harvest Moon. I really enjoy that game. I think it's great, but something about Stardew Valley just doesn't do it for me. It's honestly fine. If you like the game, that's fantastic. Keep playing it, enjoy it. Do your thing. Personally, not for me. But you know what is for me? Is playing video games as wrong as I possibly can to upset the people who enjoy playing them correctly. So come join me on this adventure while I play Stardew Valley as the title of a Days and Days song, i.e. a misanthropic drunken loner. The game starts about as normally as it can, with me mashing randomize just to get a character rolling, which I then name Blimbor. Blimbor is a young lass who has inherited the Gonna Sell It farm from her grandfather while he was dying amidst the comforter, dressed like a blue Santa Claus. Grandpa must have had some sort of clairvoyance before he kicked the bucket, because the letter that he hands off to us is exactly that inheritance we just mentioned for Gonna Sell It farm, and as it turns out, being a corporate desk jockey is a soul-crushing job, so Blimbor, of course, decides at some point to leave the job, quit completely, with no other plan other than to go to this random farm that they have likely never been to before, and see if they can create life anew there. Taking a bus all the way to Stardew Valley, Blimbor has plenty of time to reflect on the decision that she has made, and even second guess it to the point of maybe I should have not just picked up my entire life and left to a town I've never been to. Upon arriving at the town that she has never been to, which is Pelican Town, she is greeted by a red-haired woman who said she was sent to greet Blimbor by the mayor himself, who is named Lewis. The red-haired woman introduces herself as Robin and offers to lead us to our new home on Gonna Sell It farm. Blimbor follows Robin and eventually ends up on a plot of land that has a ramshackle studio home, an old man, and several acres of trees, weeds, and boulders that somebody has seemed to deposit there. Robin and Mayor Lewis yap about something for a while, but Blimbor can barely hear them, considering her misanthropy is starting to kick in. All she wants to do is go inside and sink into the little cot that was provided and hope that this is all just a bad dream, since the threat of hard labor looms overhead already. The pair finally leave and allow Blimbor to get that much-needed rest after this huge change, but there is something amiss when she wakes up, a box that was not there when she went to sleep. Carefully opening the box and hoping to avoid any arsenic that may be inside, Blimbor simply finds out that there is a sick freak that likes to break into people's homes and leave boxes of parsnips on the floor of new residents. Not knowing what else to do, Blimbor takes a few rusty tools from the shed and sets about trying to clear out some of the land in front of her house. Unfortunately, the land in front of the house is, as previously stated, overrun with weeds, unwanted trees, and boulders that someone has deposited. Using those tools, she manages to pickaxe, axe, and scythe her way through about 10 square feet of the land before realizing, oh dear God, manual labor is very difficult, and I don't think I'm cut out for this. She gives up at about 11:40 a.m., at which point she decides to go straight back to bed. So she does exactly that. She dumps all the things she collected throughout the day, including all the sap coal rocks and any wood, into the selling bin, and goes to sleep. Waking up the next day, it's largely the same routine. She grabs the tools and sets about clearing out more of the farmland, only this time her muscles being sore. She's unable to go for more than a couple hours before becoming exhausted and is back in bed before 10 a.m. The routine continues through day 3, except now it's raining, which is even worse. Those achy muscles barely make it again to 9:30 a.m. before going back to bed for the day once more. The cycle repeats again for day 4, more mining, chopping, and grass uprooting before going to bed before 10 a.m. But on day 5, something changes. Upon leaving her home, Blimbor is confronted by a new, different red-haired woman who seemingly was just standing on her doorstep until she finally left her home. Could this be the freak that it leaves parsnip seeds in new folks' homes? Who knows? As it turns out, this unfamiliar red-haired woman is named Marnie, and she is asking if this cat is ours. The cat is not ours, but we take on the responsibility of a cat anyway, because we ourselves are in such a fit mental state to take care of a human being, we may as well also take on the care of a cat. Unable to think of a name for the cat, we simply name it Blimbor 2. Once Marnie finally leaves, Blimbor also finally checks the mail for the first time today. Within the mailbox, all there is a letter from the local Joja Mart franchise saying that they have recently cleared out a landslide they caused during construction, and the letter is signed off by a seemingly jovial fellow named Morris. Despite having just been released from the corporate shackles of Joja Mart, Blimbor is actually quite pleased with the fact that there is a Joja Mart nearby, considering all the food she brought will run out sooner or later, and she will have to restock at some point. After the mail is read, the rest of day 5 continues much as the previous days did, with the hard labor and selling of the fruits of it. Day 6 and day 7 both slip by in largely the same way, in bed before 10 a.m. Day 8, yet another day of hard labor, but again it rains, and Blimbor persists regardless, in bed before 10 a.m. once more. Day 9 starts a little different because there is mail to be checked. Unfortunately, it is simply an advertisement for a new backpack from some asshole named Pierre. The advertisement is immediately thrown away, and the hard labor resumes. Blimbor ends up back in bed once again before noon. On the morning of day 10, before Blimbor goes out for more hard labor, she realizes that she is out of instant coffee and hot Cheetos. The time has come to finally pay the local Joja Mart a visit. She walks through the town quickly with her head down, so that she doesn't have to make eye contact or speak with anyone else from this town. She's avoided it thus far, so why not continue avoiding it? Heading straight for the Joja Mart, she finds that man Morris who sent out the mining notice, the landslide notice, whatever it was, she can't really remember. She speaks to him for a moment, and he mentions that they're setting up a membership system, and to come back a bit later. Unsure as to why she can't just do some shopping right now without the membership, Blimbor just decides to take a stroll around town. She unfortunately encounters some people, but quickly hustles by them, again, eyes cast down to the ground, so she is not forced to make conversation. She comes across an old, ramshackle building that the Mayor Lewis man, who suddenly appeared for some reason, describes as the community center. He talks and he reminisces and he says something about it being sold, but Blimbor does not care. She simply wants to leave and not be speaking to another human being again right now. After finally being released from the hostage situation that is Mayor Lewis talking about, the community center, Blimbor makes her way back to the Joja Mart to see if she can just purchase the few things she needs without a membership. Upon arriving back at the Joja Mart, Morris sells her a membership. Apparently, it only took 20 minutes to get the benefits program set up. Grabbing her cans of Folgers and her bags of hot Cheetos, Blimbor quickly races back to the Gonna Sell It farm. At this point, it is nearly 2 p.m., so we are very, very past Blimbor's bedtime. Waking up on day 11, Blimbor steps outside, only to see that the rain is once again falling. She swiftly decides, "Fuck this, I'm staying inside and watching television." And that's where Blimbor's story ends. She proceeds to spend the rest of her inheritance that Grandpa gave her on Folgers coffee and hot Cheetos, watching television in this ramshackle studio, until she finally runs out of inheritance money and eventually has to go back to working for Joja Mart again. So there you have it. That is the story of Blimbor, the character in Stardew Valley that I have decided to play as the most misanthropic loner that I possibly could, not speaking to anyone that I was not required to, and taking the shortest path to quote-unquote endgame, which would normally constitute completing the community center, but in this case, we say fuck the community center and just go ahead and be awful and buy into capitalism. If you enjoyed this silly little story and want to see me play games incorrectly or make up other dumb little stories similar to this in other games, please let me know. If you liked this, please subscribe, drop a like, tell everybody you know, or even one person you know. I would appreciate it greatly. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.